Hi, I'm Tom Griffith from Greater Formation, where I help people, particularly people who are in significant transition in their life. I help them get clear, get focused, and be fruitful for the rest of their lives. Well, we're in the last week of January. How are you doing? Did you end well? Have you taken time to reflect and to glean what you could from 2021? And have you started well? Have you planned? Have you prioritized? Have you started to implement what you want for the year? Chances are you're a little stalled in that process, and I want to give you encouragement today. This is not a time to berate you. I got two kind of postures I want you to be aware of. One, I want to come with a pastoral heart to you, but I want to also come with a prophetic coaching edge, because that's what I really am. And I want to you to think about this year. Let's move ahead with it. And I want you to watch out for a few things. First of all, watch out for religious guilt. So if you're not as far as you wanted to be, or you didn't finish as well as you wanted, or you haven't started as well as you wanted, watch out for religious guilt, because what it does is it makes you start to feel shame, and that you start to feel like you're not good, like there's something wrong with you, and that can lead to kind of a paralysis, that I'm no good, I can't do good, I can't do well. I want to encourage you, watch out for religious shame. If you haven't done well, don't worry about it. Let's just stop and start to move ahead. We'll talk about that in a moment. Secondly, I want to encourage you to watch out for fear. Fear is rampant around us. Fear is a kind of virus that's in the air. And what it does is when we start to feel fear, we start to get very self-referenced, that everything in our life is about us, and we start to become self-defensive, and we're protecting, and we live our life as if we're left to our own devices, because all we have is what we are, and we're afraid, so we're shoring things up. Stop. We don't want to stay in that space, so watch out for religious guilt, watch out for fear, and watch out for kind of fatigue that is prevalent everywhere. You know, it's a pandemic fatigue that's in the atmosphere, but I want you to, we want to stop, because that fatigue leads to a dull spirit. It's almost like when you're in a sports competition, or you start to become dull when you get tired. I want to encourage you that at that place where if there's fatigue setting in, you start to go inward, and you start to get this kind of sloth. It might not be physical sloth, but it's kind of a soul sloth and fatigue. Your arms kind of go limp to your side. I want to encourage you, do not give in to fatigue. So don't give in to religious guilt. Don't give in to fear. Don't give in to fatigue. You may be aware of them. I do want you to be aware of them if they're present in your being, but don't give in to them. Because where they lead is a kind of a fatalism or a faithlessness, that kind of everything will just, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And when we're at that place where there's that kind of fatalism or faithlessness in our life, we start to think that our voice doesn't count, that your service wouldn't really make a difference, that your command, your purpose, your taking authority in your space doesn't matter. All that stuff is false. So at around the end of January, this is a time for you to be aware. If any of that's been creeping in, which it may well have, it's time to stop. We're going to move in a different direction. I want you to, here's some ideas. First of all, receive saving faith. Receive saving faith and grace. And what I mean by that is not heaven and hell. That's important. What I mean is saved from yourself. God so loved you, He's come to set you free. You don't have to do the religious judgment of yourself. Receive His fresh grace. His grace to enable you to do that which you can't do in your own strength. Secondly, receive faith to believe or to re-believe that God is on the move. I know that God is on the move in the globe in a way that's never happened before. We're on the front end. We're experiencing, we're seeing, we're tasting some things of harvest that have never happened globally, and we're in it. So renew your faith. Re-believe that God is on the move. And from that posture, I want you to take an alert stance, alert spirit. Ask God to make you alert so that you can see and that you're ready to see what God's doing around you and you're ready to respond. So you say, Lord, thank you that you have released me from my own judgment and paralysis. Not only so, I believe that you're on the move, and I ask that you'll give me eyes to see because I want to respond to what you're doing. That place where you are awakening your spirit, the best way to do that, first, stop. Secondly, look thankfully at what he's done in your life, not just in the last month. How about the last decade? How about memories from all over your life? You're saying, Lord, thank you. I see you've been at work in my life. So we start with thanks, and then we move to praise. This is what you are like. You are a God who's sovereign over all things. We move from thanks into praise and to worship. It starts to change the atmosphere around us and within us so that we are alert. And finally, from that place, I want to encourage you to stand up in your gifts and your call. I'm not talking about short-term standing. I'm talking about standing in who you really are, who God's made you to be. Stand up in your sense of call and in your sense of purpose and your gifting. Take authority in your sphere. So you may be kind of worn out and you've kind of moved into that place where if God's going to move, he's going to move. Nope. Snap it. Turn from it. Stand up now and start to command the power of God into the places that you have influence, into your spheres of influence. Release the reality of heaven to where you are. Why? Well, when you do this, things will begin to shift. So January it may be kind of a wash. Maybe you haven't gained what you wanted. Whoop, stop now. The shift now. Take your place, be alert, the shift is at hand, you are going to start to see fruit around you, and more important than that, you yourself are going to be changed. You're going to grow up into new spaces of faith that you will never go back to that place. You are going to irrevocably grow because you're turning from religious kind of yuck to freshness, alertness, and starting to see things move around you, taking responsibility to release God's kingdom. You will irrevocably grow, meaning that you're going to grow in ways that you're never going to go back. You're being changed into the future of what God has for you. So I want to encourage you to contend, to lay hold and fight rather than sleep, to persist and to persevere. This is a time, take a little fresh stance. Let's move into the year. All right? Awesome. I believe you can do it. You believe God can do it. Let's believe together that we're going to be used to impact the world. Have a great day. Bye-bye.